Don in London, hello. It's the 11th of February 2013. My videos, I just heard some bottles rattling in the background. Are they going to go again? You might not hear it, but I live very close to a lot of restaurants, and every morning hundreds and hundreds of empty wine and spirit bottles, and God knows what else sort of bottles, are thrown into a great big truck. I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and my videos are all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. And my printer's just gone off. It's been printing out my words for this morning. So why do that? Why do these videos about recovery? It's very, very simple. There's a lot of people who do not know how to ask for help when it comes to drink, and I was one of them. For many years I struggled. I struggled when people said to you, "Are you drinking too much?" It happened around the beginning of 2000, and there have been question marks about my drinking in the past because I used to drink a lot. And most of my consequences were all right, but some of the consequences, the big one for me, not living in reality. So I needed to get back to reality and cope with it without drinking. So I share about what it's like to be not drinking one day at a time and what helps me. And what helped me most, first of all, were professionals who actually said, yes, it seems to us, even though you might not admit it yourself because you might be in denial, that you are an alcoholic. But, and the big but is, if you don't admit and accept it, you're not going to get very far with it because you won't do anything about it. Which of course made me feel resentful and angry. How dare they judge me? So I had to come to the conclusion myself. Who am I? What am I? Well, my name is Don, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm in recovery and have been for quite a while. But the way I do it is the way I've been taught and shown by experience how it works to be sober one day at a time. So professionals got me on track and dried me out. And then they suggested, even though I didn't like the idea, of going to Alcoholics Anonymous. It was the very last place I wanted to go to because I was a drinker. And Alcoholics Anonymous is all about not drinking one day at a time. And the reason why it's one day at a time is that's where we live. We live in the day, right now, hopefully. But with denial, I wasn't living in the day. I was reliving all the days the same, drinking over and over again and hoping the outcome would change. But when I was in that pattern of drinking, all I ever got was oblivion, and was thankful for it and didn't want to wake up. It got that bad, and it was dark and desolate. So the Fellowship of AA, all the people in it, everywhere, have had an impact on me for quite a few years now. And sobriety rocks. It really rocks, better than rock bottom I ever had. But it rocks because I'm able to live in the moment, know my feelings and cope with reality, which is emotional and spiritual well-being. Knowing my feelings fit with what's going on. So if it's a good experience, great. If it's a bad experience, it's still happening in the moment and my feelings will be appropriate. I feel awful about the situation I'm in. It's about to make me angry and resentful. Or I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, time to leave. Or am I in the right job or career or in the right relationship? How do I share in an open, honest way about my feelings and what's going on? So, in so doing, asking for help, getting feedback on how other people feel. A lot of things can be mended and repaired in recovery, but some things can't. So we learn how to cope with all of that, one day at a time, and not to try and do it all at once. I've been to 2 meetings over the weekend. And what came out most, both on Saturday, yesterday was a really rainy day and my body hurt. I have other things going on besides being in recovery. Gratitude for being alive and being able to cope with our needs met. We still might have wants, but needs met, we're on the right track. Anyway, how does fellowship help me? The fellowship of AA. Well, I'm going to share the AA preamble. And just before I do that, I do not speak for you in AA, never. I speak about how AA helps me on a daily basis, and if you're new to fellowship, it's most important. Most important. I am only one voice, and there are tens of thousands of voices in social networks, but where it really works is face to face in meetings where we see, hear and understand the emotional experience of other people in the moment of now, which is spiritual. For me, you can make your own mind up about what works for you. That's the whole point. Common ground and what works for you. And you can only do that a bit at a time, like for one day. So, the AA preamble, which is shared at every meeting, is this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. So AA is not there to funnel anything to anyone, but human beings who go to AA are affiliated to all sorts of things and have their own personal beliefs and understandings about what makes life tick for them. So the only thing you're trying to discard in all of this is drink, number one, get sober, and then understand feelings in the moment of now, and then use your intelligence and your common sense and your gumption to stay sober and hopefully find joy as it is, or life as it is, good, bad or ugly, but sober. So it says our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, which is why I do them. And I know that it's difficult when you're far away. But what's happened recently, go to meetings here in London, and sometimes I don't necessarily get all I need, and then somebody says something via a social network and it makes perfect sense and makes my day work. So wherever the information is coming from to keep sober, I'm extraordinarily grateful, and gratitude is part of what I want to talk about today. And that other word which I found difficult, humility. So for February 11th 2013, all about being restored to sanity in this month, and I've got here, I started my reflection with thank you for helping me. I'm thankful for natural instincts and learning to be open, honest and willing. So I am thankful that I have natural instincts as a man about life, and if you're a woman, you have natural instincts about life and what works, and we learn to be open, honest and willing, because this disease or addiction or malady, fatal malady, will catch anyone, and before you know it you're in denial and it can't be me. And then in my case, after a long time, I really did admit and accept my situation. So for me it was a revelation one morning after a few hours of oblivion and hard drinking that I was never going to beat my addiction to alcohol on my own. I needed to ask for help, and I phoned a professional, a psychiatrist, as it happened, one which was on the National Health Service, because I was penniless. I'd been avoiding for months the words humility and gratitude, and when I say I was penniless, actually I wasn't quite penniless, but I was just there. I was just there with nothing, basically. So I needed to ask for help, and I found a professional. I'd been avoiding for months. The words humility and gratitude had not been in my vocabulary for a long time, years. Humility to ask for help, and grateful someone was willing to listen to me. And they did, so I was very lucky. Because if they hadn't listened, I'd have kept on going and I'd be dead. Because I could see no way out. Now, I've been watching TV. There's a new public information film being shown on TV about taking time out from drinking alcohol. It's a humorous cartoon trying to deliver a message about the danger of drinking too much. Taking time out a few days a week and not to drink, and mentioning all the unpleasant ailments which can happen if we drink too much. I hope it works for some people. A drinker, however, like me, is more likely to believe that the information contained on the TV clip is for other people who have a problem and I'm not them. Even though it can be obvious to anyone else who does not drink to excess, the message is lost on those already dependent on their best friend alcohol. Seeing a clear message of danger about drinking too much and continuing to drink regardless of the consequences is where denial has started, and denial of the truth and reality is very common for us. When drink is no longer joyful and convivial, and just habitual and never-ending, we probably have lost the plot. And this thing of, if you're a heavy drinker, I was. There was no moderation, in my opinion. Once I was off work, rest and play was all about alcohol, or oblivion for a long time, because I used to work extraordinary hours, because I was fearful of things going wrong. So I always put the extra mile in, or even extra 10 miles in if need be, to make sure that things were right. And that's how I got to know most things which I needed to know, rather than rely on the information and feedback from other people who may have let me down. But I didn't even know they were letting me down, because I was in there doing their job for them. This is how it all goes. You know, it's a disease of perfection as well. We're trying to make things perfect, not only for ourselves, but all those we love around us, and we just drive them bonkers, because there's no forgiveness of oneself. How can you be forgiving of other people if they should let you down? And somebody told me that once. It was a director of a big business. He said, "Don, if I let you down, how will you forgive me?" And I'd never thought about it that way. How would I forgive him for failing? Well, my expectation was that he wouldn't actually measure up. That was my expectation. My subconscious expectation was he was never going to make. He didn't fit the bill, funnily enough, and he was a fish out of water. But he was a director, and he got there somehow. And he was asking me how I would forgive him, and it never occurred to me that I was judging him. But I was, and I didn't even know it. Dangerous, this life, if you don't look too deeply. If you live a superficial life, well, it's superficial. And coming into reality, it is quite deep, meaningful, and very, very rough and scratchy to start with. Anyway, the insanity of believing drink has no consequences for us, and the consequences only happen to other people, is as dangerous as it gets for the alcoholic. It is always the first drink which does the damage. So if we're in a day program and we have a drink, for an alcoholic it won't stop at one, because it will not do what it's supposed to do, and it won't do it quickly enough, so we'll just take more and more until we get to oblivion, usually. And then the insanity of doing the same thing over and over keeps on happening. So how do we stop that one? Well, how do we live reality? How do we cope with it? How do we get into a new habit of not drinking? Oblivion, that was my way of blocking out and dealing with depression, not dealing with my feelings, and not able to cope with my history or the next moment. Self-medicating was the most available drug I could get. Alcohol is a drug after all. I heard it said on the TV as well, alcohol is a drug. Even now when I write that alcohol is a drug, I feel like denying it. I don't want to deny those who like a drink but don't get drunk, or like a drink and cope and have fun. I wouldn't want to deny people having that. But and even now when I write it, yeah, I feel like denying it and saying it's different to other drugs. In one way it is. It's not illegal to drink, but it is illegal to do some things if we do drink. But if we drink and then cause harm to ourselves and other people, self-harm is covered up. Everyone knows that drink driving is not good, and the legal consequences are often played down as, well, I got away with it. I never intended to drink under the influence, but now I know more. I wonder if I did. Because alcohol breakdowns in quite a slow way. So was I sober in the morning? I've got a big question mark about that. And I never drank during the day until I had my nervous breakdown, and then I stopped for a year before starting again. But the consequences were there, the nervous breakdown, overdoing it in every direction and trying to please the world whilst I was completely displeased with myself and what was going on. Yeah, but if we drink and then cause harm to ourselves and other people, self-harm is covered up. Everyone knows that drink driving is not good, and the legal consequences are often played down. The harmful consequences, emotionally and spiritually, to all concerned are devastating, because when we've lost the plot and we're dependent on drink, we lose our sense of proportion and reality around all our relationships. Very often untold and uncovered up. Denial can be as powerful as love, because love will cause anyone to feel denial when love is in danger of being lost. So a lot of people put up with drunken behaviour because they think it's going to be okay, that this person will realise that they're not only harming themselves, but they're harming the relationship they have around them. So for me, humility and gratitude are now a way of life for me. Once I realised my predicament as an alcoholic, to admit and accept on a daily basis that there is no more drinking just for today, and the insanity is only an arm's length away, I began to practice humility, which for me was listening and asking about anything, anywhere, at any time. The good news is that humility opens the door to many life experiences which are open to us and our reality today. So if we don't know, it's okay not to know. The idea that I, gifted with a brain which could understand most things in life around me, it was hard to admit how much I did not know. Vulnerability can be very powerful when we recognise we don't have the life experience of so many elements of living today. And there is a thing about contempt prior to investigation. Ooh, no, I don't need to know that. Or somebody who's unfamiliar with a computer saying, I'll never get used to that. And the answer is, if we do try, we do get used to trying out new things, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable learning again. The more I know these days, the less I realise I know about elements of life beyond my life experience today. And it's okay to not know. And if we need to find out, because it's a great thing to do, then we make a decision to learn. And I do believe it's perfectly alright to admit and accept that I don't know something and can ask for help. If I ask the wrong people for help, those who may be contemptible in their outlook and bullying or condescending, all I need to do is bypass them and move on if I can. I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to ask for help. Sometimes those who are contemptible, they may be in positions of authority, and it can be difficult to resolve issues. I really do understand that. If I share with them that some things are not in my life experience, it usually opens the door to more information and action from them if it's within their power. Yes, even though they may be condescending and bullying, I don't have to react to their position. Simply I can state my case and need for help. And even if it's reluctant because they're having a bad day, it's not my issue. Maybe I can come back another day when there's time to do this. So it's not in my time, it's in the time available that people have. And often when we ask for help, we don't say, have you got the time to do this? Or should I go away and come back later? We don't do that. But if we do it with humility, often people make time for us because they have that flexibility. Providing I approach difficult people in the right way, usually they will cooperate if they have the power to do so. Don't forget, when others are struggling with their own fear, and fear comes out of them in their unhelpful behaviour, we don't have to join in with their behaviour and make it worse. At the same time, there can be a great satisfaction in telling them where to go, because we're all human. It's not recommended if you need their help, even if they push your buttons. So it's not being righteous and right and I'm entitled right now. It's never about that. It doesn't work. Even when you're sober, you've still got to deal with difficult people. But it's how we do it, how we get them on side. Some people are not willing to be on side. And yes, I'll carry on. Came to believe that a power greater than me, this is part of step 2, restored me to sanity, is perfectly understood today in my own world. So I can only share what's working for me. And this is how it works for me. And we all work out with how it works for ourselves. Being restored to sanity by a higher power implies that there's something hovering up there called a higher power. I don't know that there is something hovering up there or out there as a higher power beyond my life experience. So I can understand it with my life experience. This is how I do it. Within the fellowship of AA, it is always the many I lean on and share what's going on. So via these videos or via other social networks, and especially face-to-face in meetings. And regarding sponsors within the fellowship, they're to help with the 12 steps and not all your problems. We find others with like situations. So often we have a sponsor for the 12 steps and how to understand and learn them, as well as the benefit of listening to the experience, strength and hope of other people. And if we share our problems, often within a group of 10 there is somebody who's had the same experience and they say, this is what I did, and they share it, not directly often, but they may come to you after the meeting and say, listen, I've had that same problem, do you want to know how I dealt with it? So it's a suggestion and not telling you what to do. But unfortunately people get excited in fellowship just like everywhere else, and they will tell you mountains of information. Do it this way and you'll be alright, rather than, have you thought about doing this? So accept the information in whatever jumbled up form it comes. You can still work out for yourself how it might work for you. So we have to use our brain power a bit. It's not straightforward. Is life straightforward? Not really. It's blinking tough. So we find ourselves and others with like situations by sharing our own situation today. How many sponsors do I have? Well, actually, I don't know if this your sponsors, but I feel, well, for a start, all of you, because sometimes the answer comes from far away or just around the corner and local today. So I don't know where the answers are going to come from, and I don't know when they're going to come. But if I say something and I'm upset or I don't know what to do, sometimes I say it on here as well. The whole point of this video is to try and tell the truth of how it is, and warts and all, good, bad and ugly. And today I'm feeling okay, so it's pretty good. I'm in a good place. Wow. Anyway, higher power, the higher power, came to believe a power greater than me restored me to sanity. With regard to sobriety, it's the collective wisdom, the truth and love shared within meetings and from far away over the world these days. It's true, and I thank you for it because it helps me. And I try and reply to all the messages, but sometimes it takes me quite a while to find them, and I don't know why. Facebook and other instruments of social networking, they're not sending me all the notifications I get, either via YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. Somehow I've confused my computer, or I've confused the world in some way, and it takes me time to find and reply to things, so apologies on that. I do mean it, I do apologise. Truth, love and wisdom abounds all around us if we are open, honest and willing. So humility is an absolute must for me. Asking for help is not feeling less than. Asking for help is that I haven't got the living experience of this and I don't know how to do it. So it may come from fellowship, or it may often come from outside fellowship. including the road sweeper, who is extremely knowledgeable and has lots of wisdom, and he prefers sweeping the streets because he doesn't have to tax his brain too much on other people. He likes his solitude and how he goes about life, and he's not a drinker, but he's extraordinarily in the moment of now. And I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, he's okay. He helps me be okay sometimes. Gratitude. Gratitude is not a dirty word in my vocabulary today. I don't know that gratitude was ever a dirty word. I was just reluctant to share with the world what my situation was. And when I was an active alcoholic, unable and unwilling and dishonest with everyone around me back then, because that's where I got to. I hid, ran, covered up, and now I don't have to. It was a relief to my family and friends, and I suspect old work colleagues as well, although I was not able to talk to the old professionals in the old life without feeling shame and guilt for a long time. I ran away and tried to sort it out, but the more I ran away, the more I was confronted with me. I was still the problem, and it wouldn't go away. Who wants to admit they are bankrupt emotionally and spiritually? I didn't want to admit anything for a long time, and then when I did, family and friends were there in the background ready to help if they could. They had also taken professional advice who said he needs to go to AA. And if you want to understand why he's like that, there's another organisation called Al-Anon. So they got in touch and started to understand what they could and couldn't do, and that I had to do an awful lot of changing in my own outlook, attitudes and behaviour, but I couldn't do it all at once. And knowing the answer was harder than living the solution. So the living solution without alcohol was much easier than the hard part of trying to think it. Living it was far easier in the end, because I still had to overcome my self-prejudice, my own self-harm, and all that goes with the dark, desolate landscape of addiction's drink. Truth, love and wisdom is always ongoing. I know when I ask for help, it can only come if I'm listening. I have to listen, and the right person or people are there. It's never in my time usually, not in my time usually, and often I need patience, not only one day, sometimes for many days or weeks, when it comes to outside sources trying to help me, because there's a queue. What happens when we ask for help and no help comes? Maybe we need to ask what we are asking for. Sometimes we find ourselves in a state of expectation about the possibilities, and we also have a sense of entitlement because we feel entitled to some sort of help or recognition. This is true, and I've lived through it many times. Expectations and enlightenment, or rather entitlement are resentments under construction, and the phrase often used is expectations are resentments under construction. If we expect too much and we haven't earned it or worked for it, or we can't even see the way to get there, I'm entitled because I'm me, I'm a human being. It doesn't work that way. We have to do our bit. So asking for help on the basics to know and understand our feelings right now and how to cope with reality is the starting point for any human being, because if we have an addiction aspect to our behaviour and understanding of life, or just the way we are as an addict, we want it now, we want to be fixed, and of course it takes time to work out what needs are, and the difference being wants and desires. So once we know our feelings in the moment of now and understand where we cope well and cannot cope well, the doors open to a new reality, the reality we have one day at a time, and we can change our outlook, our actions and our attitudes today. And if they're stuck tight and you can't change your attitudes, you're going to have to put some work in. Say to yourself, is this really what I need, or is it what I want to be fixed, so I look right and feel right? Are my needs and direction feeling right now? Often we're desiring something and want it, and if we have it, what are we going to do with it? What are we going to do then, when we've got there? It's the journey, not the destination, which is important. And these 12 steps of fellowship, the fellowship principles, 12 steps are for personal use. The 12 steps of fellowship are really about personal improvement and sobriety. The 12 traditions of the fellowship are about unity, service and recovery. So we are in unity, service and recovery, and we don't have leaders, and we don't have spokespersons, and this is not an authorised AA video, and it may annoy some people in fellowship because of anonymity. But I don't get anything out of doing this except sharing the message, and that's why I do it. I was asked and answered. One of the dangers of the 12 steps is that we apply them and believe others may be equipped with the same outlook that we have. So we're learning what 12 steps mean for us, and then we think the world ought to be like us. Of course it's not. So we can use these steps in a very dangerous way. And the most dangerous thing we can do, we forget the 12 steps are for personal use and not to judge the rest of the world. We're not here to judge the rest of the world. Judging others with the 12-step principles, because it's like appraisal. Judging others. It's very unhelpful and easy to do. 12 steps to keep our side of the street clean, we often say by the time we get to the 8th step, which is making a list of amends we need to make, or can make. So it's looking at how do we clean our side of the street and keep it clean and live open, honest and willing. 12 steps to keep our side of the street clean, to make sure that our behaviour and attitudes are consistent with our beliefs and opinions, and not to judge others. Just for one day. Keeping our side of the street clean is hard enough, trying to tidy up after ourselves. The other side of the street and the people on it is a step too far on any given day. And sometimes we have to say, I'm going to get out of Dodge, or call the sheriff because it's beyond me to understand what's going on. So we don't, we're not omnipotent when we've got our 12 steps in our kit bag, or we're living and experiencing how the 12 steps work. It's just for us. But if you apply them to other people, it's dangerous and it makes them mad. And they'll say, how dare you judge me? Get your side of the street clean and come back. Now, something important to me, prayer and meditation, because we're talking about a power greater than me and you and the rest of humanity, maybe, depending on your belief system. Prayer and meditation, we all have an inner voice which we are listening to, and it shapes our feelings and understanding of reality. So when I wake up, it was funny that it was blank this morning. I just got up and went to the loo, which is what we normally do, wash and put the kettle on. And I wasn't really thinking I was just feeling, God, it's still dark, it's 5 o'clock and I can hear the rain outside. And I was still awake at 2 o'clock this morning and it was snowing. Yeah. So 2 till 5. That's 3 hours sleep. That's pretty good for me, actually, one go. I don't normally get that much. It's just how I am, and I don't mind it now. I've come to understand it, so that's all right. Anyway, this is important to me. If you pray, and I do pray, I do, even though I could not define or find a definition of God, because if I could define God, I might feel as powerful as God. So I keep it simple. I need to keep it simple, and the most helpful prayer is always the serenity prayer about what I can do and what I cannot do. I can change me and my attitudes, and sometimes I need a lot of help to do that, which is why I'm in fellowship. I can share my gratitude to a higher power, and I can share my frustrations. And this is something which works. Maybe this is why I do the videos as well. Expression through prayer is a form of meditation which often works. So expression of what's going on. Dear God, have you noticed this? Or dear God, I'm trying to deal with this. my needs, wants and desires. So what often works, because it is a reflection of how we feel in that moment of now, we're starting to understand our situation in relation to how we feel and what's going on in the world. Yeah. Now, expression through prayer is a form of meditation which often works because it is a reflection of how we feel in that moment of now. When we feel entitled and we have expectations going on, we really do get the answers around resentments under construction. That is, if we are listening carefully to all the things we are asking for, we're going to understand the can-do and can't-do of it. Prayer, meditation and expression in the moment about now, our needs and not wants, works today. So when I get back to my basic needs, which is truth, love and wisdom, and being able to relate to people equally, that's where it is, and that's where the can-do, can't-do and wisdom is in the moment of now. Yeah, prayer, meditation in the moment of now about needs and not wants works today. We all have desires, sometimes beyond reality, and this is something we share to God. And in good conscience we can find the answers today, and often to the desires, and whatever they may be, which probably come down the vices side of the sins and virtues. Because don't forget, we have sins and virtues in us, and they're very easy to understand. Just look them up on Google. 7 virtues, 7 deadly sins. We are like this all the time, either in balance or out of balance, or thrown into a tiswas because we adore somebody from afar and we're attracted to them, desiring them, and then it got to go for reality. What's real about this? You can love them from afar unconditionally, but if you get too close you might get your fingers burned. All the fear is that fingers will get burned, feelings will get hurt. Who wants to be rejected? Well, it's a bit like I had a great big nervous breakdown where everything had piled up for 35 years and I never sorted out that crap, but it gave me great knowledge and skill in helping other people deal with their crap. This is the trouble with counsellors or people in consultancy. I don't recommend it as an enterprise or a career, because you get to career around, and you either, it goes two ways. You can go down the educational route of learning big business and thinking you know it all, or you can live through it and also do the academic study, which I did. So theory and practice. Theory can put you on a mountain top thinking you know it all, but actually the practice starts at the base camp always. And if you don't have base camp experience, knowing the academic understanding, if you can't translate that into action, it's a bit like in fellowship. You know, there's, oh, I believe in God and now I'm going to be saved. Well, you believe in God and believe you me, I'm sure there is a power greater than all of us, but the power which comes to me is through the wisdom of other people. So I don't know God, but he might know about me, or she or it, I don't know. Prayer and meditation help me undo the knots I can get into, and that serenity prayer is the can-do, can't-do bit. I can do this, I can't do that. If I can't do that, why am I trying to do it? Is there someone who can help me on this? Where is the wisdom? Well, I haven't got the wisdom, but it's probably out there somewhere, and that's the gift. That's the gift that we give each other. You know, we work to understand ourselves through the 12 steps and what we've done and where we're headed, one day at a time. And in fellowship, that unity, service and recovery provides us with the wisdom of the many and opens the door to the wisdom of the universe as we know it today. It could be a library, it could be your best friend. The wisdom is there, and sharing it, understanding it, can do, can't do, and making the tracks work. So 12 steps, living principles, have amazingly helped me, and the main help has always come through other people, and for that I have deep gratitude. I don't often say it, but I don't feel bad about that, and it's not gushing, it's just gratitude for the love shown through offering help, suggestions. I'm certainly not telling me what to do, because if you tell me what to do, my ears would close, my eyes would shut. And you know what a kid does, sticks their fingers in their ears and starts babbling. I don't want to hear this. Well, we all do that metaphorically when we go blank, when somebody is telling us what to do. We alcoholics are very sensitive to people telling us what to do, and I'm still learning how to cope with it just for today. Enough of me. If you've got this far into the video, thank you for watching. Generally, I don't know, but thank you for watching if you have, and I appreciate you being there. The Serenity Prayer, to God or in good conscience, or both, or whatever your belief system is. God is a short version of Dear Universe, or to the good as you understand it. It's your personal opinion which counts. It won't work otherwise. So I have my opinion, and I'm happy with it for now, and it will get more enlightened as time goes on. If it happens, I may just stay at the same level of understanding. Truth, love and wisdom is through people, and it's bigger than me, and I listen out. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Happens moment, by minute, by hour, and just for today.